I stood in an apartment in a high-rise building in New York City, looking out through a huge glass window. Behind me, a nurse was preparing to leave, packing up her tools. I am Damien Hale, a successful business person and billionaire, but my life has entered the countdown, terminal cancer, with only 6 months left to live. That day, I had lunch with my best friend Martin and talked about my illness and what I had not told my daughter Claire. Claire and I have always had a bad relationship. After all, I have always been a workaholic during her growth and had hardly spent much time with her. Martin believed that if Claire knew about my illness, she would forgive me and we would soon reconcile. At the farewell, I asked Martin if he had heard of the concept of shedding, and Martin said no. A hail of curiosity flashed through my mind. After getting in the car, I dialed Claire's phone, but she didn't answer. Then, I took out a business card called Phoenix Biogenetics Company. I remember my conversation with the company's boss, Dr. Albright. Albright's goal is to provide the most outstanding minds in humanity with the opportunity to extend their lives and reach their maximum potential. He invented a technology that can transfer consciousness from one body to another, a process called shedding. The company provides genetically engineered and perfectly modified bodies for those willing to pay a high fee. I remember asking Albright why their service was still illegal. Albright told me that I was asking the wrong question, and the correct question should be,
do you feel immortal?
These words made me hesitant and unsure whether to accept his proposal. In order to make up for the regret before I die, I decided to meet Claire, who now runs a non-profit organization. I offered her money to accept it, but she refused, thinking that I was trying to manipulate her and hoping that my checkbook would solve everything. I sat in my office, feeling disappointed and powerless. I was eager to be reborn and continued to study the information of shedding and Phoenix Biogenetics. Soon, I discovered that the process was invented by Dr. Jensen and watched a video explaining the idea behind it. Dr. Jensen's goal is to liberate people's minds so that they can live even after their bodies die. However, as I delved deeper into shedding, I began coughing up blood and fainting, worsening my condition. When I woke up with a breathing tube in my nose, I decided to call Albright and make an appointment for surgery. Albright told me that after the surgery, I would be unable to contact anyone, and my past life would no longer exist. He instructed me to fake my death in New Orleans and publicly disclose the process of death. The next day, I flew to New Orleans and called Martin to ask if I could meet him in New Orleans. Before the meeting, I went to the local cemetery and buried a mysterious box next to a tombstone. During lunch, I pretended to pass out, and Martin was so scared that he called 911. However, the ambulance did not take me to the hospital, but directly took me to Phoenix Biogenetics. The surgery began quickly, and the injection was injected into my body. I was completely conscious and put into the machine. The strong lights and harsh sounds made me even more uncomfortable, but my consciousness quickly shifted to a new young body. When I turned my head, I saw that my original body had already passed out and died. The shock and nausea made me unable to help but vomit. Albright told me that it would take a few days to adapt to all of this, and I began to have hallucinations and saw a photo of a horse farm. In the following days, I stayed in the hospital for training in physical therapy to adapt to my new body. As I couldn't return to my old life, I also needed to learn a new fake identity and name, Edward Kenner. At first, I felt confused and desperate, but gradually, I began to like my handsome new appearance. However, the hallucinations and headaches did not disappear. Albright told me that because my brain had not yet adapted to the new neural structure, he gave me some medication to help with the transition. If I did not take the medication on time, I might die or suffer from severe headaches and hallucinations. I started a new life in New Orleans according to Albright's arrangement. Gradually, I adapted to the new environment and started playing basketball with friends in the neighborhood, even dating beautiful women. At night, I went to the club with my friend Anton, and everyone stared at my handsome new face. But I was never used to answering questions about my life, work, and age. And others thought I was a bit strange. Soon, this new way of life no longer satisfied me, especially since I couldn't see Claire. One day, I forgot to take my medicine and began to have strong hallucinations. I saw some images from the past, even a mother and daughter in a rural area. The hallucinations were so clear and strong that I began to think they were memories. I told Albright about these phenomena, and he insisted that it was just a mixture of my old memories and current emotions. To distract me, Albright gave me a ticket to Hawaii and increased my medication. He said that I saw the sick little girl because I missed Claire, and the live moment in my hallucination might have been a one-night stand when I was young. I began to suspect that Albright might be hiding something, so I decided to investigate further. I found that the pumpkin tower in the illusion actually existed in the small town of St. Louis. In order to find the truth, I decided to go to St. Louis instead of Hawaii. Before departure, I returned to the cemetery, dug out the box buried there, took some money, documents, and credit cards, and rushed to the airport. Albright's people followed closely behind, but I quickly shook them off and flew to St. Louis. After arriving in the small town, I saw the pumpkin tower and then found the house. When there was no response after knocking on the door, I entered the house and found medical bills and parts of the respirator. Most importantly, I saw pictures of the mother and daughter of my hallucination, Madeline and Anna. Shockingly, these bodies were not genetically modified but once belonged to a real person. When accepting this uncomfortable truth, Madeline went home and pointed a gun at me from behind. Seeing her pain, I told her to calm down and try to explain, but she fell to her knees crying because she thought her husband was dead. Just then, Albright's men broke into the house, knocked Madeline unconscious, and prepared to kidnap me. Anton also appeared. It turned out that he was a member of the Phoenix Biogenetics company and had been monitoring me. He explained that Madeline's husband Mark agreed to sell his body to the company in exchange for enough money to pay for his daughter's treatment. I was shocked and informed Anton that Albright was a murderer. Anton responded coldly with a metaphor, saying it was like buying a new car, only to find out that the car had already traveled tens of thousands of kilometers, which naturally made him feel bad. But he told me that although he was angry, it was meaningless to go back because it would kill Madeline and burn down her home. I decided to take action and use a strategy to save Madeline. By pretending to take medicine on time, I knocked down one of my subordinates in the bathroom. With Mark's military instinct, I dealt with several of Albright's men and quickly woke up Madeline, but I lost the medicine in the fight. In the end, I worked with Madeline to protect her by knocking down the enemy. We took the opportunity to escape and prepared to take her and Anna to a safe place. I knew she would ask sooner or later, so I lied before she did. I'm Mark. I'm doing all this just for Anna, so she can survive. I almost believed myself, but it wasn't the truth. We went straight to the school, broke through the fence, and took Anna away from the playground. At that moment, she shouted, "I knew you weren't dead." She threw herself into my arms, as if hugging the whole world. My head suddenly shrank. This child called me Dad, but I was a stranger who took away her father's body. The three of us temporarily stayed in the cheap motel. Late at night, I sat in front of the computer and traced the Phoenix company. I found out that Albright was actually a student of Dr. Johnson, and his wife Phyllis were still alive and living in a nursing home. The pills ran out. Headaches and hallucinations followed, but I had no choice but to see her. The next day, we went to the nursing home. Pretending to be a graduate student, I asked Phyllis, who suffers from Alzheimer's disease, for her research notes. She believed me and told me many stories. The more I listened, the more shocked I became. The Albright she mentioned was actually Jason himself. He was reborn through someone else's body, then became the creator in front of me. I asked her to call Albright and asked him to come see her. When the doctor appeared, I pointed a gun at him and forced him to hand over the pills. However, he had no fear and said coldly, "The more you eat, the less Mark will have. You will erase his memory, skills, and military instincts. Once the medicine is stopped, my consciousness will be silent, and the real owner, Mark, will wake up." I decided to take him to the laboratory, but was ambushed. His men subdued me and prepared to transport me away. At a critical moment, Madeline appeared and knocked down one of them with a heavy blow. It was Anton, who had changed into a new body. My heart was like falling into an ice cave. In the chaos, Madeline and I broke through. Before leaving, Anton whispered to her, "Ask about his daughter's birthday." Madeline fell silent immediately. In the car, she pressed me about Anna's birthday and the details that only my father knew. I remained silent. She understood the truth. Anna in the back seat look at us with strange and innocent eyes. Madeline's anger overwhelmed everything. You are not young. You are not your father at all. But for now we can only continue to cooperate, for the sake of survival. I thought of Martin, my most trusted old friend. We went to find him, and I proved myself was a story that only he and I knew. He believed me. He was also shocked by everything I had experienced, willing to hide their mother and daughter, and plan an escape. During this period of time, I gradually became familiar with Anna. I taught her how to swim, and watched her laugh, and shout daddy in the water. I knew that title didn't belong to me, but every time I called it out, it hurt my heart. Madeline stood by the window, looking at us with a hint of reluctance and waving her eyes. At night, she came to my bedside, briefly, like real family. At a certain moment, I suddenly noticed that all the mirrors in the house were covered. I remembered Martin's son who died unexpectedly 2 years ago. I rushed into the children's room and saw Anna playing with a strange little boy. In an instant, I understood that Martin had also transferred his son's consciousness to another child's body. He had also taken the same path as me. I angrily scolded Martin. Do you think this is an experimental subject? No. This is another child's body. He was shocked, repentant, and finally decided to truly help us. He led the mother and daughter through the forest, while I drove an old car to distract the enemy. Next, there was a hail of bullets as we fled. I had a fierce confrontation with the enemy, with vehicles rolling and bullets shuttling through. After confirming that they were all dead, I rushed to the restaurant we agreed upon, but only saw Martin sitting there alone. He told me that Madeline and her daughter had been taken away by Albright's people before he arrived. He also revealed that the business card of the Finnish company was the one he secretly gave me. All of this was already predetermined. More importantly, Martin cracked the drug formula and we could finally synthesize it ourselves. However, I fell into contemplation. If I continued to take the medicine, Mark would die completely. I decided to pause taking the medicine for 12 hours and try to awaken Mark's memory. This may be the only way to find the laboratory. I saw a grand carnival-filled warehouse in my hallucination. I realized that it was a landmark near the laboratory. The next day, I set off for New Orleans. After exploring the warehouse, I indeed found the laboratory hidden behind. I sneaked into it, 2 brand new bodies waiting for consciousness to be put on the shelf. Albright appeared behind the glass wall, his tone contemptuous. Madeline is the perfect match, and Anna's organs will not be wasted. I was furious and shot the glass. Just then, I determined if I was really Anton. He asked me many questions, and in the end, he seemed to believe me and sent me on a mission to kill Madeline and Anna. When I entered the room where they were, I did not kill them as ordered, but killed the guards and saved them. We started to run away, and together with them, we fought against the Albright's men. We ran all the way and finally entered the room, and know that Martin had already cracked the formula. I burned him with fire and escaped from the laboratory. Anna and Madeline eventually went to the safe place Martin found for them. I had other plans. I went to find Claire and pretended to be her father's friend. At that moment, I decided to confess my heart to her. I told her that I regretted not being with her when she was a child, and I was proud of her. Then, I gave her a letter, and took one last look at outside the window as I left. The next day, I woke up in my hotel room. I don't remember anything. I found a video of myself, which shocked me. It turned out that I was no longer in Mark's body. I made a decision to stop taking the pills and let Mark return to his deserted body, so that he could regain everything he had lost. I feel incredibly relieved. Mark's life is finally back on track, and I'm grateful for it, even though I know I can't continue with my past life.